My speech began to slur and I could barely talk. And the results read hyper acute, fresh, real, at the age of 33. That's crazy. At 33, I'm starting over after burnout, healing, rebuilding, and becoming with Jesus. This is my journey. Welcome back, you guys. I know that it has been a while since I have recorded a video, and today I am going to get into why that is. Today's conversation may be very heavy, could trigger some because of the approach that I do take in my beliefs. However, it's not intended to offend anyone, but this is just my story. This is just what I believe, and it's my faith. And so, with that said, let's get into the video. I was headed to Thailand. I feel led to go, and this is my second attempt to go to Thailand. I believe that it's a place that God has called me to go next, to seek refuge, to rebuild, and for restoration and further healing. I had researched it. I felt like it would be a great opportunity. I dreamed about it. And after burnout, after carrying my house, marriage ministry, it really just felt like a place that I could really recover and really build. That I started out on TikTok at 68,000 followers. I did 2 mentorships, and after the second one, God told me to close it February 2025. So I did. And now I'm starting from scratch, starting all over. And no clue how I'm going to do it. I'm just moving as I go. As I get instruction, I'm just moving, And so during this time, it caused a lot of stress. And if you don't know the video I'm talking about, check out the video on why I quit 68,000 followers. I will link it here for you, and you can check that out so you get the backstory. This situation has caused a lot of stress, a lot of pressure in my head, physically. High blood pressure being elevated. And, I'm always in tune with my body to know when something is off and something is wrong. And so there would be times where I would start having slurred speech. Slurred speech is like when you lose control of, it's like almost losing control of the muscles, or I don't know how to really explain it scientifically or anatomy wise, like about the body. I'm really not really sure how to explain it, but for those of you who are more like visual like myself, slurred speech is like sometimes when it's like you can't really talk. So I'm sorry, I have to be the one to demonstrate it. So that started happening to me some mornings. One of the main issues that I discovered was due to the fact of not eating right away when I woke up in the morning, because I was also diagnosed pre-diabetic. When I don't eat in a certain amount, and bear with me please, but when I don't eat in a certain time frame, I start feeling very weak, very nauseous, not able to really stand. You get the weakness in your knees and your legs. It feels like your body's very heavy. So that's been going on for a while. Last week was the very worst that it has ever been. The very worst. I mean, for 3 years, I've mostly been able to eat, eggs. It's like the main source of protein that I can afford. So it would be eggs almost every day, breakfast, lunch, dinner, just cooked in different ways, in different styles. Sometimes you might throw a little tomato base in there for your sauce. If you're in Ghana or you're African or a different culture, then you understand what I'm saying. That was what we could afford. Now, during this time, I would be so sick. Even though I would eat that, I would be sick. And the reason being is because I believe that I was under eating. So I would be very weak throughout the day. With all of this going on, I wanted to go to Thailand because at least I wasn't going to be homeless, returning to America. I was fighting for my funds to be released so that I could have extra money, have more money to be able to, be more comfortable over there. I'm stressing so much because I'm anxious, I'm nervous, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't want to end up homeless in America. I don't want to end up homeless in Ghana. So a lot, was going through my mind, and all of this while I'm trying to figure out the where and the when and the how. And the day that the funds released, instead of me taking a break, I panicked. And I was like, I gotta leave now. Because remember, this is my second time attempting to get to Thailand. So I'm like, I gotta leave now because God gave me a vision. God gave me a vision, a story. I gotta go. And if I stay here, the money's gonna run out. Y'all know the scarcity, mindset that we can have is very real. And so I'm like, I gotta go now. So guess what I did? I booked a flight. And I was rushing. And after I booked that flight, I actually booked the flight the same day the funds released. I did not waste no time. I was like, okay, we leaving now. I didn't give myself time to think. I was just like one stress to the next. And having a moment, just bear with me, give me a second. So I didn't stop to ask how my body was actually feeling. I pushed through. I ignored every possible symptom, sign until I couldn't. The nauseousness, the tiredness, I ignored it. So after all of booking the flight, I didn't get to the next preparation of the Airbnb. It was the Airbnb actually that was stressing me because I wasn't finding what I was looking for because I was rushing. And the episode started. My speech began to slur and I could barely talk. When I talk about this, physically it still affects my body, where sometimes the slurred speech will come back just because of stress. But after I had booked that flight, my speech had started slurring. I was very weak, very hungry, very tired. And this time, the dizziness and the nausea was too much. So much so that I could not ignore it. At this point, I was overwhelmed, confused, forgetful, not completing my sentences, stuttering, and I knew it was too much. Through this process, I'm thinking, I need help. I need strength. I need prayers. Being the giver, I will admit that it's very hard for me to receive. It's very stressful that the giver on the other end probably would be overwhelmed with how much worry, anxiousness, guilt that I'll carry from receiving because I'm so used to giving. My mom instilled that, the Bible, be kind as a young adult. And it felt like, it was the least that I could do. Trained me to be a yes man, unfortunately. And, that's when the ministry started. I became a yes man in ministry, prophesying, praying, answering every call. And that's what burned me out. Days after fighting for an appointment to be seen, we get an MRI schedule. And 5 hours later, we show up back to the hospital for the results. And the results read a stroke, hyperacute, fresh, real, at the age of 33. That's crazy. And then a confirmation before that, you're diabetic. When I was sitting in that chair at the hospital and the doctor looked at me in my face, I couldn't feel anything. I didn't have any emotions because I didn't know how to feel. And I think one of the reasons is because the doctor was kind of short. Y'all, if you've ever had one of those, he didn't seem patient. And the way he expressed and explained things, it wasn't where we could understand. And there was a little attitude, and it was an experience. So I didn't really get to sit with it and feel that. So we had to go. When we left after him telling us what my labs were and my sugar levels and everything. We left out. And so I was asking my husband questions because at this point the doctor is talking, but nothing is registering. I'm not remembering what he's saying. So I'm like, you're talking to me and I don't understand what you're telling me. So we go back in a second time and ask about the results. And, this time he puts it plain, like, you're going to have to see a neurologist because the symptoms that you gave us reads that it's a stroke. And so that's when I had got the MRI scheduled, and then that's when the results came back. And I knew I was literally living the assignment that God had given me for the body of Christ. I didn't realize that I was going to have to walk through it. And that's the part where I mentioned in the beginning of the video that some people may not agree. I don't always think that everything that happens to us is because God was trying to like show us or teach us something. I think some things that we put ourselves into, but I'm not going to get into that. However God can use it, I believe. And I do believe that this is something that he used. And I'm not saying that he intentionally allowed me to have a stroke and everything. I don't really fully know. And it's not the video to decide, and neither will I ever, because what's most important is that God spared my life. When we went back to the doctor after to get the MRI results, the lady was like, do you know if because what happens is a in fracture. So there's a portion on the frontal lobe on the right side that the oxygen is not getting oxygen, and there's clots. So they had to give me like this is something like a blood thinner for the brain to stop the clotting so that my brain can start to heal. Which is why I have to make sure that I'm taking it easy, relaxing, not stop stressing. It's been very, very difficult in this environment and in this situation, and I'm trying my best, and explains why the slur speech, because that part of the brain is what controls the speech. Be able to think things. I don't know everything, so I'm just telling you what I heard her say. But it explains why I would have slurred speech and confusion. And so again, I felt like I'm literally living out the assignment. I'm going through what I'm getting ready to preach about. It is not funny, but as I was sitting with that diagnosis, I'm just like, wow. And one thing I like about the doctor, she's a Christian, and she said, I'm going to tell you, you received the diagnosis. And she said, this is just the facts. Okay. This is scientifically the facts, what's going on with your body. She said, but you don't have to come into agreement. When she said that, I gained an understanding of coming into agreement. I know it to be something that like you agree with something. But the way she said it, something gave me like a revelation or something just went off in my head where it was like, you know what? This is true. The way she broke it down was people who come into agreement, they're walking around and holding it as a badge of honor. Like, Oh, yeah, I'm diabetic. Oh, yeah, I had a stroke. Oh, yeah, I had this or I had that, with no plans or intentions on changing your lifestyle. She said, this diabetes, this stroke, she said, this doesn't have to be a life sentence. She said, you can do something about it. You can do something about it. And she just went into, changing the way that I eat, not about, about the stress and, just trying to manage better. And, I'll be fine, that I should just speak over my body. And it's so important. And I've been doing that, speaking and declaring over my body that I am healed and, that I am redeemed and restored, and just really being really positive, in my book. This is why I say sometimes I believe, I believe that God works all things together for our good, and He can turn a bad situation into a good one. Even if there was no purpose in meaning by it, He can create one and teach you a lesson or anything. God gave me June 25th, 2025, last year. I believe this was like a warning. Now that I'm sitting here thinking about it, I believe this was a warning. But I sat here, wrote inside of this book, and God gave me the title. And He said, I want you to write this down because this will be a message that you're going to share. And it's titled, Get Fueled. Not fueled, fuel, gas, get fueled. And He said, your body is like a car. It needs fuel to keep going. It needs food, sleep, exercise. Now, this is like elementary talk, right? Everybody knows that we need to do this. But as adults, even us knowing sometimes, we still don't do it. We still like, okay, I can skip a meal. I can skip the necessary hours of sleep that I need. I could just skip it. Just so important. It's so important that we don't, because the body needs fuel, exercise as well. And for me as a prophetess and minister, that means rest and restoration in Jesus. Being everywhere for everybody is not what He wants all the time. And He showed me how even the disciples, when He sent them out and they came with such excitement, He was like, let's rest. Let's go away to a quiet place. And we are not exempt. The body needs fuel. A luxury car, you don't fill it with regular gas, do you? Some people, if you fill people's cars with, people go crazy about their vehicles. You better not talk about it. You put regular gas inside of a luxury car. They flipping because premium gas is expensive. The good stuff is what keeps the engine going. And so God is talking to me in everyday language. This is what keeps your body going. And He showed me that Jesus is the Holy Spirit. He's like that premium gas. His strength, spirit, power, love is what keeps us going. And when we get that rest, He can restore us, renew our minds, give you new ideas. And the difference is with Jesus, the gas is free. And how come in life, when things are free, we tend to take it for granted more than we do when something costs? When you spend $3,000 on a bag, 10,000, whatever, the way that you take care of that and the way that you make sure nobody else is disrespecting your property or no one else is destroying your property, that effort, that effort and energy we put into things, he says is the same effort we need to put into rest and getting fueled. He wants us to receive it. Apply rest. Keep the Sabbath holy is what he's been teaching me. So when I was diagnosed with the hyperacute, in fact, that's when the message hit me. God is not only wanting you to prepare to preach, but he wants you to apply first. Apply it. So that's why I say I feel that I'm literally living out the assignment. Literally. I learned to set boundaries even if it was hard. And I learned that you can't save everybody. And I learned that I'm not God. I know that's not something that people think you need to learn. You don't think so. Like, of course, no one walks around thinking, but there are times that you can try to step into roles that God never intended for you to carry. That's his job. And when people gave to my ministry, I always felt guilty. Like I was taking advantage. I was money hungry. That's why when I would receive, I was giving out more than I was keeping for myself. And I wasn't able to take care of bills. I wasn't able to take care of keeping the lights on or just the basic thing. And God taught me, you need to give what you have to give. How can you give what you don't have to give? Render to Caesar's what Caesar's. You got bills to pay. You can do what you can do, but you can't help everybody. So people were coming when they would see people trying to be a blessing to the ministry. People would come and they would be like, oh, I need help with this. And I never complained. I still to this day don't complain. I don't have a problem. But God showed me the error of my own ways, that part of being a steward. Now, I don't want this video to go left, okay? Because we're talking about the stroke. But part of being a steward is stewarding your money. And you can't just give it all away, So I was doing that. And over time, that burned me out. And this is the result, a stroke. Healing for me is not just medicine or rest as just an idea. It's an actual place. Because if you feel that you can't heal in a space, perhaps you need to evaluate. And I imagine it's safe, quiet, stable, refuge to recover. And I don't fully have that right now. Still, I'm figuring it out. Like, it's still in the back of your mind, like, where are we going to lay our heads? What are we going to do? And asking for refuge, that's not something that's a weakness. That's wisdom. Health is indeed wealth. So where I am now, I feel like rest for me means letting my brain heal without having to resolve something. Sitting in the quiet, no worry, no deadline, no responsibility for anyone, just a day with Jesus to sit still. No more moving from place to place. It's been so stressful on my body. I've been moving from place to place constantly for several months. It means prayer, meditation, preparation as God leads me. It's a moment to Selah. Selah. Be still. I'm still in the middle of it all. I don't know fully what will happen in the coming weeks. There's ongoing treatment. The reason I did not get on that plane was because I knew in my body, if I were to get on that plane, something could have happened while I was in the air. And I don't want to speak like, oh, I'm speaking over. No, I felt in my spirit and in my body that I was supposed to stay put. And maybe God allowed that to happen so that I could go to the doctor to see something is going on with you that's life-threatening. And I thank God. I thank God that I went. I thank God. Because only God knows. And I'm so grateful that I'm conditioned enough to hear this still small voice. Because only God knows. Only God knows. So there's ongoing treatment that I have to have, medication, follow-up appointments. I still have labs I haven't scheduled, and not having a stable place to heal while all of this is going. And it's so difficult. Like, I'm sure that so many of you guys can relate when your body is saying no, but the bills don't stop. The things that are pulling you every direction because you have to, it doesn't stop working. It doesn't stop. Like, you got to push and work through things. And so we are sick. We are depressed. We are tired, and our bodies are telling us this. But the fear of what will happen, because a lot of our realities are, if I don't work, I don't eat. But what happens when you're in a space that you can't, or you're in a place that you can't, and your body is suffering? It's costing you. Do you continue to work, or do you just trust God? Because our bodies is a temple of the Lord's. And I want to live. If it ain't my time to go, I want to live. I don't know about you. I want to live. And I believe it's so important asking for help, not because, you got to figure it all out, because you don't. Because you do need help. So if this video moved you and you are able, I will be grateful for your support if you could support me. You don't even know. Just, I see this post on social media going around. It's like a viral thing going around that says, one post, one like, one subscribe, one share could be $1. You don't know. And so even if you feel that you cannot give, share, subscribe, like the video, pass it along, because I could use all the support right now. I could use all the help. We don't have to know each other. I could be 5,000 miles away from America. I could be anywhere in the world. But just human beings from one to another, support is really needed. And, I'll be able to continue my treatment. Don't have to fly right now. Find a safe place to keep walking toward the ministry that God has called me. The link is going to be below. Support, pray, share, do what you can. And thank you guys for walking through this with me, because this was a heavy video for me. But thank you for walking through it with me. And I thank God for letting me get through this video today. I feel better. And I thank God for that. And that's it. I'm her victorious because it's who I am. And so are you. Life is a journey. Relax. We're still becoming. Bye. Relax, sister. We're still becoming.